Sorry about that, folks. I didn't mean to cut that other video so short about Farmer. But, I got to thinking, holy smokes, I could go on hours and hours and hours about different stories with Farmer and the other dogs. I mean, this could be a year-long process. But I'm going to stick with this Farmer story. He was about 3 or 4 years old, and I just got to the Arctic. And the first 10 days in the Arctic, I train. I train the dogs to travel in those type conditions. And those first 10 days are very crucial, very critical. They either make or break an expedition. But this is a training process. Now, I don't want to go into a training video right now because that's to take hours and take away from my farmer story again. But I was hitching up the team for a training run, and I was using Bear and Boss for leaders, and they're smaller dogs in comparison to Farmer. Now, Farmer was probably 25 inches at shoulder, which is about standard for a male, but he is well over 105, 110 pounds, probably up to 115 sometimes when he was really muscled up. And that's the difference in my line. They're wide and they're muscular, much different from a lot of the Alaskan Malamutes out there nowadays. But it's just what I developed, probably because of the pulling. It just kind of built their muscles quite a bit over generations and generations. So I was hitching up the team, and Farmer was sitting there wagging his tail, and he was looking at me in a peculiar way, like, "Come on, Dad, let me do lead. Let me run and lead. Just this one chance." And I'm a sucker, so he was there happy with smiling on his face. I just didn't have the heart to put him in wheel, so I said, "Okay, Farmer, I'm going to put you in lead and see what happens." Boy, it could have been a tragedy actually when I think about it. So I put him in lead and put him beside Farmer or beside Bear and Boss, and hitched up the rest of the 19 dogs. I had 22 dogs in the team, and since the snow was wind blown and hard packed, there was no sense in me skiing in front of the team light load. We're just training anyhow. And I got on the sled and I said, "Okay, which is the command to go?" And I tell you, that command, I mean, if you're not hanging on, they're going to leave you back face planted in the snow because that's what they listen for. And as soon as I said that word, okay, they shot like a rocket, and I held on. And old Farmer was just tail wagging, and just, I mean, you could tell he was proud to be in lead. And so we were cruising along the river. All of a sudden, Farmer, the wind was blowing kind of a side wind, and I noticed these little brown balls rolling past us. And it's funny because then Farmer noticed them and he started chasing these little brown balls, scooting across, rolling across the hard packed snow with the wind. His wind was pretty strong, as you can imagine. And so he was chasing these little balls. I said, "No, Farmer, we don't do that here. We don't chase everything around." So I tried to get him back going straight, but it didn't matter. He was after these little round balls, which were actually little muskox turds that were rolling across the tundra. And of course, where there's smoke, there's fire, and where there's muskox turds, there's got to be muskox around. And I couldn't get him to turn back, go straight for anything. He didn't know his commands that well, and he was just pulling Bear and Boss. He's so tough, and he was chasing. I said, "Whoa!" And which is the command to stop. And they normally stop on a dime. It didn't matter. Farmer was zoned out. He was chasing these little things, trying to catch them, and all of a sudden, right before us was a herd of muskox. And the big males, I'm not sure if you know muskox, but they circle the females and the calves, and they put their head down, and they will just crush anything that comes their way. I mean, they're just like a bulldozer sitting there. And and here comes Farmer. He'd run right toward them, and it was a disaster in the waiting. I mean, it would be a disaster if we ran into that muskox herd. And I was yelling, well, of course, putting on a brake with 22 dogs, that doesn't do anything. So I just hung onto the sled and, stepped on the brake. Hopefully it'd catch something, but it never did. And then I saw right before the muskox herd, they were up on a riverbank, and we were crossing the ice. The river was pretty wide, maybe a half mile wide. We were crossing this river, heading right towards them. And I noticed right before we climbed up on the bank to the muskox, waiting for us, I noticed there was some sand that was windblown. It didn't have any snow on it. I figured, well, as soon as the sleds hit that sand, it's gonna slow down, and I can sprint up and grab Farmer before we run headlong into a muskox herd. And running in the, I thought of it as like the muskox herd was a baseball bat, and we're a baseball, and we're heading right into it. Anyhow, it worked. As soon as we sleds hit that sand, I ran up, grabbed Farmer, and turned him quick right before we got there. Thanks for listening. God bless.